Restaurant Unstoppable. What the most successful restaurateurs know that you don't. With excitement, allow me to welcome back on the show for a third time, not only a past guest, but a friend. Joe Fontana, founder of Fry the Coop, Chicago, Illinois. How you doing, Tom, man?
Feeling great, and welcome to Chicago.
Yeah, man. We have been friends now for what, 7 years?
Yeah, I think something
At least.
like
I think
that.
we're going on 7 years.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've got to meet you in person. It's exciting, dude.
My wife thought we went to high school together.
Really?
She was like, yeah, your friend Eric from high school. I'm like, no, he grew up in New Hampshire. She's like, what?
My friend from podcasting. Yeah. It's cool how the internet just can like bring people together no matter where you are. So this is, like I said, this is your third time on the show. If you guys are interested in getting caught up, head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/425 and /715. Those are the previous two interviews. And what is unique about you is I literally have got to see you grow from concept, a wholly different concept, to new concept, to now 6 locations.
Yep.
And that all happened in the past 6 years, basically.
Yep.
Past 6 years, which is incredible. I can't wait to kind of pick up the conversation where we left off, but let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. Are you going to stick with the classic?
No, I got something new for you.
All right, go for it.
All right, so you ready for this one?
Yeah.
All right, if you want to prosper for a year, grow a plant.
Ooh.
If you want to prosper for 10 years, grow a tree.
Okay.
But if you want to prosper for 100 years, grow people.
Ooh, I was gonna be, he's gonna say grow a forest. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. So I think that's a really great quote for today. Where did that quote come from?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I heard it somewhere and I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like, I get it. You know, like it just hit me and I was like, that's it.
Okay. So Joe and I are like in full transparency shooting from the hip today. I know whenever I get with Joe, we have really great conversations. So this is going to be like, I just picked up the phone and I'm calling Joe. I'm checking in on Joe. And then we actually talked a little bit and I said, Joe, what do you want to talk about? So you said to me, I want to talk about not changing the culture, but basically pivoting your brand, almost a focus on growth.
Yep.
Specifically growing people.
100%.
Not to be a spoiler alert or anything like that. Did I steal your thunder?
No, not at all. Well, to give everyone a little place and time, we're in Chicago.
Yep.
We're at the Fry the Coop on Chicago Avenue in the city.
Yep.
We're in the neighborhood called West Town.
This is your third location?
This was our third, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is, we're on the corner of Chicago Avenue and Ashland. It's a beautiful neighborhood.
It is.
My grandparents actually grew up in this neighborhood. Both sets of my grandparents grew up here. Yeah.
That's cool.
And there's a church literally behind the building. And my grandma and grandpa got married in 1959 on the stairs of this church.
Oh, man.
Which was really, really cool. And I have all the pictures on the wall of my family when they grew up in the neighborhood. And I have that picture of my grandma when she was walking on those stairs.
That's
in
crazy,
1959.
man. Talk about like, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost not nostalgia, but just like sentimental, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
Yeah. And dude, speaking of your space, you're starting to point out some of the decor. I love what you did with the place. I got to know. How did you get so many antiques in such a short period of time?
Well, we cheated a little bit.
Is there a store out there?
What Eric's talking about is we have like old antique kitchen utensils covering the walls. We have a lot of pictures, a lot of old beer cans, neons. So when we went to Nashville, like for a little trip, one of the things we noticed is all the dive bars in Nashville, they're all lit up by neons, a lot of cowboy hats, a lot of guitars on the wall. So we were trying to bring a little bit of that Nashville hot chicken love to Chicago. But we found a company who, it's really cool. It's a family company. The dad goes around all over the U.S. He gets all these like old antiques, brings them back to their warehouse. They have 72,000 square feet of antiques. And a lot of it they use for props for like movie sets, TV shows, plays, things like that, Broadway stuff. But then they also decorate restaurants. It's one of their things. So we get to go there, pick through all these antiques. We create a giant pile, and then they come and put them on the walls.
That's awesome.
It's
What's
really
the name
cool.
of this company?
It's called Zap Props in
Zap,
Chicago.
Z-A-P?
Z-A-P, yep.
Zap Props out of Chicago.
Yeah.
We're already dropping recommendations. I love it, dude. No, this is great. I love the space.
For the people who know Portillo's, which Portillo's is like a deep Chicago brand, they decorate all the Portillo's.
Okay.
And you'll see each Portillo's has like a different vibe to it. When you walk in, it all comes from there. They actually have a room called the Portillo's room which is really cool. I may have stolen a couple things. Sorry, Dick Portillo, out of the Portillo's room.
So the last time we were talking, I want to say the focus was on kind of scale. Like that's where you were at.
Yeah.
You went from one location to, I think, at one point, were you at 6 locations? 6 is the most you've ever had.
Yes,
You closed one.
We had to close one in the Loop, which is the very downtown.
That was the
area
second
of
location
Chicago.
that you ever opened, right?
No, that was our fourth location that we
fourth
opened.
location.
Yeah,
Okay.
it only lasted a year. We were serving 300 people a day there just for lunch. It was just a lunch spot. And once COVID hit, it was in the financial district of Chicago. And so, we went down to serving like 6 people a day.
Yeah.
So really quickly.
When we first, the second time, the first episode was like 3 or 4 years. I want to say 2 years ago, maybe. It was 425. And then last year we had you was May. So right off the heels of COVID-19, 3 months into COVID-19 approximately, right? Or 2 months into COVID-19. We didn't really know when things were going to be lifted. We were hopeful. You guys, we talked a little bit about how you pivoted, how you're doing store, like you converted your space to be pickup only, right?
Yep.
We talked a lot about that, but what else happened? I mean, you mentioned you didn't close the fourth location at this point, did you?
No, we ended up closing in September. So it wasn't until like 6 months after that, 5 months after that.
Okay.
And then we got forced to close. It wasn't an option. They actually terminated our lease because there was no business. I mean, literally, it was we were in a food hall, and the food hall ended up closing.
It's crazy to think, even like September of last year is only like 8 months ago, right?
I know.
So like, how did you guys evolve during this time? That isn't just necessary, maybe in response to COVID-19, but not necessarily, things that were in response to COVID-19 that aren't going anywhere. The things that you picked up from COVID-19 that you implemented in your business that are here to stay. Like, how did you evolve during this time?
I mean, to me, really, it wasn't really. I mean, I hate the whole idea of how things changed because that's like the opposite of hospitality to me. When someone's wearing a mask, you can't see them smile. You can't see their expression. Are they sad? Are they happy? And like really, I feel like to be really hospitable, you have to react to those reactions. Someone coming in on their birthday, or did they just leave a funeral and they're here having a drink after? So it's like hard to feel that. So we're doing our best to just go back to how things were. We're trying to hold on to like, hey, how can we get back to caring for people? Like I want to hug people. I want to kiss people on the cheek. I want to high five.
We had a big old hug as soon as we walked in the door. It was good. So what? I guess what is? I lost my train of thought. You started talking about hugs. It got me excited. So I guess like from like the original question is what changed about your business that's here to stay, and it sounds like I didn't pick up on anything.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, we switched to the takeout like you were talking about, but I think I kind of told you we had removed our front doors at the restaurants and we installed takeout windows. And so we put up big easy ups, balloons. We had cones, giant signs pointing saying takeout window. We always say if you confuse, you lose, which is a story brand ideology, but we were trying to take away that confusion.
Got it.
We wanted people to come in, get their food, get out really quickly. So that it was more of like a convenience thing and trying to like, how can we make it so easy for someone to come get food and leave, not feel unsafe, not feel any like negative, no confusion, that kind of thing. But we got rid of that. We opened up the, we replaced the takeout windows. The doors are back in place. And we're letting people back in the restaurant now.
I love it. So you were a huge proponent of Uber Eats and DoorDash and all these third-party platforms. I remember, in the way you looked at it, your whole outlook is these are marketing outlets for us.
Yep.
And do you still feel the same way?
I do. And it's like a necessary evil if you think about it like that. The problem, though, right now is that Uber lost 2,000 employees during this whole thing. So where it used to be, where Uber Eats was so fast, I mean, literally, you put an order, we had a driver there within minutes. They were waiting on the order to get done, and our food takes, very quickly to whip out. So now we've kind of started to see like this lag where there's a lack of drivers. which is unfortunate because now it takes longer to get food out to customers.
Yeah,
which is a bummer.
the first location was 2017. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, that's correct.
So we're 4 years into this now.
Yeah,
right?
we're actually 3.5 years into our business. We'll be 4 years.
And from our previous conversations, one of the things that you did that was a huge success for you was you invested in a publicist early on.
Mm-hmm.
And you had lines around the block, like you said, wrapped around the building. Is that honeymoon stage over? Is it getting to the point now where things are like the hype is as strong as it was, or like how do you maintain, I guess is what I'm saying, out of that initial, like, we got all this media, you got all these people coming through because they want to try, you're the new kid in town, lines around the corner. What has it been like to try to maintain that?
So, and that's a very good question.
Yeah.
I think we've always tried to be classic and try to have this, like, not be trendy, try to have this like classic idea. And I feel like when something's classic or vintage, it almost never goes out of style in a way.
Yeah.
So we still have our publicist on board. That's it's like a we look at it. Rebecca, yeah. It's like a marathon.
Yeah.
From Betty Baum PR. But it's a marathon. We're going to do PR always. And I think it's just constantly being relevant. It's hard too. We do the same thing. We don't have specials. We don't really do anything like outside the box. We don't have like daily things going on. So we do the same thing every day. But our goal is to be consistent at that same thing, be the best at the same thing we do. So it makes it hard for a publicist to promote. When you're just doing the same thing every day.
Well, I mean, this is something we've talked about in the past too, but also the power of having a really focused, tight menu. So if you are doing just a few things really well, like it makes it easier to do those things well. You're not being distracted.
Absolutely.
So what are you do? So you're doing a lot of the same things. Your focus is doing this one thing, Nashville fried chicken, the best in Chicago, best in the world, right? Sandwiches.
We do That's our main thing.
So. How has your marketing or your PR, like how have you evolved your approach to getting the word out there? So how's the message changed?
I think the message has stayed consistent. However, now we're kind of focusing half of our efforts on the business side of things. Like I was, what is it called? The notable entrepreneur for Cranes magazine.
Nice.
Which Cranes is like a big one. Yeah, that was about 1.5 years ago. But I think like we're kind of focusing on, because me and you were super into the business side of restaurants and the industry, and we could talk for days about this stuff. So I think we're starting to kind of promote the business a little bit more towards like that publicity, and not so much like chef-driven stuff. Because at first, a lot of like the TV news, they want to see chef owner.
Yeah.
I'm not a chef. You know, I'll cook you a great meal at home.
I think the chef has. No offense to the chefs listening to this, that time is kind of, it's still relevant, but the wave isn't what it used to be. And I think that what's sexy now is entrepreneurism, technology, innovation, and you can take those practices into the back of house as well. But I think that there's kind of like this, like I think what you're alluding to is that there's almost like this next wave of the new sexy is the businessman, the entrepreneur.
They're both sexy.
But there's like, I think there is opportunity there to like share what you're doing, like the business side of things, right? The what and the why.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. And I hope, like, my goal is that our culture and the idea of growing people and really making our purpose around that is going to help inspire other people to do that too. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the first one.
No,
to do
you're
this,
not.
But
and I'm so excited that you're going in this direction. When you said this to me, I lit up on the inside, and that's always kind of been the vision that I've had, is like if I ever wanted to open a restaurant, my job would be growing people, right? And and like I think I might have said that in the past. But you're so aligned with that mentality, and I think that people like to say we're not in the food business, we're in the experience business. Yeah. And I would say even further, we're not in the experience business. We're in the, like you said, growing people business. That's how you started this episode. And it's all about creating opportunities for others. So this has kind of been the big pivot for you in the past years. Like you said to yourself, what was your message before this year?
Well, it was kind of that we wanted to deliver happiness. So it was always kind of about like the guest and like, our purpose is delivering happiness, and it still is. We really, I'm like, it's a selfish thing in a way because I like get off on making people happy. Like it brings joy to me.
The customer service is so good that it's borderline creepy. Is that the quote?
That is the quote. That was my favorite. But I think that like we've redefined and kind of like put it in a little more perspective. Because if you're growing a company or you're growing just to make money, it's kind of like soulless, it's got no like real purpose to it, because money is almost like a means to an end, It's
money's
like,
security.
It's security.
It's that thing that we all need to, pay the bills, to put that stuff aside, like the most basic human needs, to rest so we can focus on like growth.
For
right?
sure.
But I think that you like you said, your original mission was delivering happiness. Your new mission is
growing our people.
Growing your people.
Because I transitioned myself too.
That's delivering happiness, brother.
Oh, it is. No, for sure. So they do align.
Yeah.
I'm just not in the restaurants the day to day anymore, and so I feel like we're kind of now in the stage where we have to care for our people, and our people need to deliver the happiness.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I really want to break this down because, like you said, that before your focus was delivering happiness. Now you're about growing people. But really, I think that's how you deliver happiness to your most important guest, your inner guest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your team. Because if you're, you know what I'm saying, and this is your time to shine. So as I'm saying that, what's going through your mind?
So like kind of what we were just talking about, like we're in the people business. We just happen to sell chicken. That's kind of, and from every aspect, as far as like us taking care of our team. Taking care of the guests that come in, we are in the people business. So we started to really think about like, personally, I want to grow, I want to level up. I want to get to the next, stage, and I want to keep growing along that journey. And a big part of that for me was like a light bulb moment that went off, that I realized that progress is really where happiness lies. Like you can have goals and you can hit milestones, and those are great and all, and you need to have goals to hit and whatnot. But once you get there, there's like a moment of joy and happiness, but then that moment goes away, right? So like I could think when we got the green light to fund Fry the Coop, I was on cloud 9. I was in California. And that was like, okay, like, do we have like a green light where I'm going to get some cash to like open up this restaurant? And I remember I had the windows down. I'm in California. It was like a beautiful day, palm trees. I was like music blasting. I was so happy, right? Next day, that feeling is kind of gone.
Yeah,
right?
because you're in Chicago and it's 30 degrees and windy and snowy.
My point is, though, I realized that like you have to keep climbing your mountain, and then along the way, you hit those milestones, you celebrate, but then you set the bar higher and you find that next goal to kind of keep working towards. And in that progress, that's where happiness lies.
I agree. But it's weird because like listening to you talk, and I do agree, but it's kind of, I feel like the world we live in is like such a double-edged sword, right? Because when you think of growth, I think a lot of people, what comes to their mind is more like fiscal growth or fiscal stability.
Oh, sure.
And
That's a part of it.
And I think that's absolutely important. Because people need those things to feel secure and get security in their life, right?
Yeah.
Like fiscal responsibility should be one of your core values because it gives you the ability to give your people security, right? And like beyond that, but it's the fuel to, it's the blood to your body. It's the fuel to your car. You need it, right? But at the same time, when I hear that, like one of the realizations I had is that you'll never have enough. So like progress is happiness, but it's like that instant, like what's dopamine, or what was it, dopamine that when you get the cookie?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is there something else? I can't remember. There's a few different chemicals.
Dopamine.
Dopamine.
For sure.
So you're getting that like that surge of chemical, like, oh, this is the good, and then like you said, the next day it's gone. And I think that, what are your thoughts about this idea of like just like humans being insatiable, as far as growth goes?
What's insatiable mean?
So
I need to.
Basically, like they'll never get enough.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and that's what I'm kind of talking about. Where you might have. I also.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Reading and writing level of like a third grader. So
insatiable. I'm gonna look it up now. Good thing I have the Wi-Fi password.
But like the word that comes to mind is hope. Like, I feel like when you have something that you can hope for and that you can work towards, that's like where you have this like idea that like you'll never get enough because there's always that next level to get to. And if you have that like, okay, I'm hoping to get to that stage. Like right now we're at 5 restaurants. Our next goal is to get to 10 restaurants for right now. So like I'm hoping to get to that level. We're at 10. When we're at 10, then the goal is to get to 20. Then 20, and we're going to keep moving that bar up.
Yeah.
But that idea is that like I have something to hope for. I have something to work towards. And not just me, but like our crew too, like they want to know like, hey, like there's going to be an opportunity for me where I can grow and I can, there's going to be this like light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
But like, as I was saying, you always keep moving that thing up. So you never fulfill it because there's always that next level.
So you said something, and it reminded me of a quote of one of my professors, David Mazer. I'm giving you a quote, buddy. That I think something along the lines of, I'm gonna butcher this. A leader is nothing but like a dealer of hope.
Oh,
that's
for
all,
sure.
Do you know the quote I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Yeah, but exactly, that's what a leader does. We provide hope. We say, this is where we're going. Are you coming with me? It's going to be better once we get there.
Yeah, 100%.
You're creating that hope. And I think, so what are you doing in your organization to excite people about this pivot, about this new purpose of existing to create opportunity for your employees?
Well, like, for example, we have someone who started off as a dishwasher, making $10 an hour, worked their butt off. 4 months later, they were in the kitchen doing prep. Then they worked their way up to lead prep. Then they worked their way up, and now they were prep manager. They were prep manager for, kitchen manager for a year and a half. Then they worked their way up to like shift manager or assistant manager. And now, they're working their way up, this person I'm speaking of, to store leader. After store leader, there's district leader. Then, there's like, so in title and in different, positions, there's ways to kind of move up. So you have that like, hey, I'm making more money, I'm like, along the way. And none of this stuff happens overnight, by the way. It takes tons of hard work, tons of dedication, tons of focus. But, you just keep leveling up, and you keep doing it slowly, and then it happens. And, financially, you were saying, like, for sure, that's a huge part of it. You want to make more money. You want to be more secure. But that's just a part of it. You want to know that you're cared about by the people you work for. You want to know that you're taken care of. You want to be proud of your title and your position. You want to have these things that, like, make you want to move up. And we tell our team all the time, like, listen, we're going to the moon and back, and like, do you want to come with us? And if you want to come with us, like, we have a career for you here. And so I think that's like one way of kind of positioning it as the career piece. Then the other thing that we're thinking about, and this is something that we are in the very beginning stages of, but creating a win-win situation for our team where they can keep growing up that ladder to maybe one day where they own their own fry the Coop and we're a partner with them.
Yeah.
And then maybe like, because we thought about, we get approached for franchising all the time. It was almost silly. Like when we opened up, like 2 months later, people were like, are you going to franchise? I'm like, I don't have a dishwasher for Tuesday. What are you talking about? Franchise. You know what I mean? Like, and still, we don't want a franchise. I don't want to give our brand to somebody, some stranger, you know. But if there's someone who starts as a dishwasher and they grow in our company, like that's the guy I want to franchise to. And that person could become a millionaire one day.
Yeah.
Like no college education. They started out, basically at the bottom. And then now they might one day own 4 or 5 restaurants themselves and be crushing it. You know what I mean? So like we want to kind of create those opportunities to where this is more than just like, a job. This is going to be a career that's going to, pay them.
So what's the conversation look like on day one when somebody comes in your doors and they say, hey, like I'm here for a job? Do they know what's on the horizon? Do they have these are you laying this out in front of them that if you come to work here, like you could own your own, like maybe you're not sharing that yet because that's part of the vision.
Yeah.
But like there's room for growth. Like we don't want to just hire you for a line like we want you to be more than just a line, whatever the term you use here, but like a line employee. What does that conversation look like to give them that hope?
We don't do that from the beginning currently because, we have a lot of people who start and then, a week later they just peace out on us. You have somebody who comes into the kitchen and then all of a sudden they ghost us and then, they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
But we do have a quarterly meeting at each store where we bring the whole team together, and I'm starting to put that into the conversation.
Okay.
Before I was trying to kind of tell, so in London, they have a culture or in England, where if you want to go to another job, you can put in a 3-month notice. It's pretty common where you would go to your boss, you say, hey, I got another job. I'm going to give you a 3-month notice. And they celebrate the fact that you're moving to the next, the next chapter. It should be about that. And then they literally will throw a party for that person that goes on to do the next thing. Well, in America, it's the opposite. Nobody wants to tell their boss they're leaving for a new job. If you tell your boss, then you feel like you're going to be shunned.
Yeah.
So a lot of my, conversation with them was always like, hey, if you're only with us for a season or 2 seasons or whatever, and you're going to be a photographer, or you have goals to
whatever it is,
climb your own mountain, we're going to here to support you on and off the field. So if you want to be a photographer or whatever your dreams are, we want to support you in those dreams. So I was always kind of preaching that to our team, but now I'm starting because we have the opportunity that we're growing and we need leaders. I'm starting to pitch this whole
I think it's both.
We have a career. Oh, it is. It is 100%.
If this isn't for you, that's fine. I get it. Not everybody wants to be the Nashville fried chicken sandwich king of Chicago. I get that. But at the same time, I think that you should also give them the outlet that if this is what you want to do, there's room for you.
No matter, for sure.
So you want to open up that as a possibility. Did you by any chance check out the episode I did with Nick Cirillo on framing for tangible growth?
No, but I need to go back and listen. I was actually trying to get a hold of Nick Cirillo.
I can introduce you. He's down the street. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah, he's
Nick's
right
Pizza.
down the
we
street.
should go for pizza tonight. So I had him on the show, and Rudy Mick is actually behind that school of thought.
Yep.
And it's this idea of when you hire people from day one, maybe not from the day you're interviewing them, but as soon as they're hired and they're on the team, there is a path for growth. So they come to you and say, hey, Joe, I want to race. And you say, okay, here's what you got to do. And there's a step-by-step process of courses, lectures, tests, all these things.
Slice of the pie.
Practicals where you demonstrate that you are efficient in the job, you get timed. Things like this where you can literally chart your own path, or you can grow at your own pace, whatever you want. You can tackle it and get a $5 raise in 3 months if you want, and that sounds like that's the path that you're on. Is that you've gotten to the point now where you want to start building these tangible paths of growth, of vertical growth within your business.
Yep.
So what's your plan to tackle that?
So I actually, we were talking about bringing Nick in because we want to kind of mimic that ideology where the ball's in your court. You want to raise? Great. Earn it. Here you go. Here's the path to do that. But I think with us, it's kind of just keep pushing the team to, want more and, be hungry for it and work for it and work hard for it. And they're seeing, it's been tons of changes. No one stays in the same position for that long here at our company. So it's we're constantly moving people up. And I think people see that, and they're like, hey, oh, wow, that person was just working alongside me. Now they're my boss.
Yeah.
I want that too. You know, I think I'm ready to step up,
Yeah, for sure. The other thing that has kind of come up a few times in today's conversation, but indirectly, is the power of vision when it comes to hope.
Yeah.
Right. Because as the leader, you have a vision for this place.
Yep.
And what it looks like 5 years from now. Does your team know what it looks like?
And we actually just sat down to define that, which has been nice. Finally, after we got our 5th store open in March, we've actually got to take some time to be okay, let's take a step back and let's start kind of diving into the nitty gritty of that. And we're starting this whole training program, and a part of that is, kind of what you're talking about is letting the team know what the vision is, what the mission is. And we sat down, this was 1 month ago, to really define it. We've always kind of had it, but I think defining it. And right now our vision is we want to be the number 1 employee in fast casual, and we want to be the go-to spot for chicken sandwiches in Chicago.
Okay, I love that. So when you shared this vision, how did the energy change? Was there a change? Could you pick up on it?
Well, I think, between us, we call ourselves a support team, and that's like the executive, people who don't work in the restaurants who we kind of like support all the restaurants. So our support team, it was kind of like, okay, now we have it defined and we know what we're going for. Like it was kind of like, okay, it is clear. And we all knew it in a way, like you could feel it, but I think defining it really goes such a long way, because now like it's down there and it's on, and we also put a timestamp on it. We put our timestamp at 2025, which is in 4 years from now. So in 4 years from now, we'll sit down again and we'll redefine our vision and redefine our mission, and kind of like get that, and we're starting to also work on vocabulary. We want to all talk the same language.
Yes.
So yesterday
we had a conversation about that the last time I was with you.
Yeah, and it's important. And
yeah.
we had a vocab meeting yesterday where we're starting to kind of get all this language together. So at this store, at all our other stores, we're all talking the same language.
I want to get into that and why that's so important. But to wrap up this idea of vision, right? Vision will stoke hope.
For sure.
And like people need to know where you're taking them for them to have hope. And it's not enough to tell them during the orientation. You have to remind them what the vision is. This is where we're going. Like you got to make it a part of your vocabulary, your language, right? Which kind of leads into the next thing is once you have this vision of where you're going, you can't just leave it there, right? Like you're going to forget where you're going, right? You got to constantly bring it back to the surface. So that kind of leads us into what you're talking about is language. So what's your strategy for using a language to reinforce vision?
So I guess once you kind of have everyone kind of speaking the same way, it kind of all aligns into that one vision, right? Like one of the phrases that I wanted to put in was the only easy day was yesterday. That's a Marine kind of thing, but we do pre-shift every day. So our managers, they gather everybody right before we start lunch, and then right before after shift change when we do dinner, they bring the team together. So like it's nice to start talking about things in a way that like kind of flow the same way. And I think like when everyone kind of sees like, oh, like this is hard work. Like I'm here to hustle. And like, yeah, today's not going to be easy because the only easy day was yesterday. So like it's hard work and you gotta hustle. And I feel like those little tidbits in the language help, the overall picture of the vision and the mission and where we're going.
Yeah, I can't tell if we have an audience or if they're reading the menu.
I think they're reading the menu. Come back and see us.
Yeah.
All the language that you speak, how the leaders in the company and in the stores, our store leaders, how they talk to our team and the words that they say, it needs to align with the vision and the mission. And I think when we're all talking the same language and we're all using the same quotes, the same,
Was this inspired by Mario Del Pero? I'm just curious.
No, it's inspired kind of by Danny Meyer, actually, because he kind of took that, like, these little quotes that he would repeat over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And they start to get into people's minds.
Well, you look at, and this, I think we talked about this a little bit in our previous interviews, but it's worth bringing back to the conversation. When I interviewed Mario Del Pero, he said that every culture across the world, whether it's Italian, Russian, Chinese, Australian, South Africa, wherever you are, has its own language, right? And every business has a culture. And you have to think about that business having its own language. So it's like those little things like that help you identify. Ritual is the other big thing too.
Oh, sure.
So you can use language, which is like our words, right? Like every organization has their own set of words. And also the ritual, which is like repeating things, like things that happen the same time every day to reinforce the vision. Do you guys have rituals?
We do not really have a ton of rituals. One of them, though, that I really wanted to implement was that we have a new employee starts with a trainer T-shirt, and they wear this ugly blue, bright blue, stands out, and it says training on the back.
Yeah.
It's already, they wear it for 20 shifts, which is about a month before they actually get like a uniform package. But I was thinking that it'd be really cool to, once they get that uniform package, when they're like, they made the team, we bring them in the walk-in cooler, and we do, like when a knight is knighted, and they, the sword on each side of their shoulder. Like, so I was thinking that'd be really cool. Like once.
What are you gonna use, a spoon? Or
Yeah, use a spoon or use maybe one of those fryer scoops,
There
you know. But you bring them in the walk-in cooler, the whole team can join. You know, they get down on a knee, and it's like, all right, you've made it. You know, you passed your training. You are now part of the Coop team. You know.
But even doing those little things, like starting with one uniform, like a T-shirt, right? That's your training T-shirt, and then giving them that cookie of getting the uniform, that's growth.
Yeah,
right. And
they made it.
They made it. Right?
They made the team.
Yeah, and like I think Nick Cirillo, and what he's another thing that he does, that's he has a different colored hat for every tier that you for every, like, I can't remember, but it's kind of like a curriculum almost.
Yeah, so once you level up,
yeah,
you
it's
get a new
101,
hat.
201, 301. I think that's how he actually talks about it too. And every time you get into that next tier, you get a new hat to kind of distinguish your credentials. Which is, I think, a good. Again, people want to be seen.
Yeah,
they want to be recognized for what they've accomplished. So that's huge. What are some of the other things you're going to do to really kind of pivot this organization to be focused from? Well, it's still going to be focused on happiness, really, because at the end of the day, you're making your employees happy
for sure
by giving them opportunity and by growing them. What else are you going to do?
So donations are something that restaurants constantly get asked from the community. You know, it's like we have on our desk every week. There's maybe 4 to 5, donation requests of, all different baseball teams, hospitals, school districts, PTAs, and we love donating to our community. I think all restaurants, love giving back. However, I started thinking about like all these dollars that we're just kind of giving away to the community. And I thought, I'm like, that money like could possibly go towards our team because, like there's obviously struggles all over the world, right? There's kids starving in Haiti. And so for some restaurants or businesses, they might donate money to Haiti, and hey, we put this fund together and there's kids, and I think that's amazing. However, in our business, our people are struggling inside our 4 walls. They have personal struggles, financial struggles, things that they want to do that they may not have the money for. So we're starting kind of a fund, if you will, and we're going to start doing our donations. And we already have done this, but I want to make it like official, where we are like putting money to the side and having like a donation thing for our team. So they can say like, hey, I'm moving out of my mom's house and I need a deposit for an apartment. And they can like put in an application for that. And like, sure, here's $1,500 for your, you want to move out and like move up in your life and you want to grow and, move to that next level. We'll happily help you with that. School tuition, we donated, somebody, their grandpa passed away, unfortunately, one of our crew, and they'd only been working for us for 3 months at the time, but they had asked like, hey, our family doesn't have enough money to pay for the funeral. Would you be able to help donate? And we did. We were like, absolutely, So I wanted to, kind of build up this opportunity so we can, take our donation money and like put it back into our team, help them kind of grow. It's kind of that same concept. We just want to help our crew, move that.
Now, do you see that being like just deciding who gets the money might run into some issues for you? Like, or like, do you think that there's a possibility where you might run into like people paying favorites, or some people feeling if they didn't get anything? And like, I mean, I hate to bring that into the conversation.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There's nothing fair in life.
Yeah.
Nothing fair.
Yeah.
I think somebody made the joke that the only thing that's fair in life is a thing you pay on a bus. But like, so it's not fair, it'll never be this even keeled thing, but, we can try our best to, be unbiased and try to, take these. I
think it's a great idea. And I'd be interested to see how you guys execute that. Because I don't think I've heard of people just giving back to their team. Like, oh, you need help with that. Like, it's kind of like it's essentially a donation, but they just never labeled it,
Yeah.
But when you said donations, I started thinking about other examples of people using donations to kind of stoke culture. And other organizations have given the employee, like they'll like once a month they'll say, okay, Mr. Employee or Mrs. Employee, what's one cause that you're excited about, and we're going to donate to that.
Oh
cause,
yeah,
which is like another thing you can do. So just feeding into those higher needs, and like, and just anything you can do to like help see your employee and help them feel like they're being seen, whether it's something that's important to them that you're contributing to or whatever it might be. Absolutely. So far as the things we've covered as what you're going to be doing to focus more on growing people, that's going to be your more, before tagline was delivering happiness. Now we're going to grow our people. You're going to use tangible framing. So people will see how they can grow within your organization.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to use language, ritual, and you're going to start giving back to your employees at a whole new level. What else are you going to do?
Yep. Wow, I thought that was enough. There.
That is a lot. I mean, but I didn't want to cut you short.
No, I think it's really just like making a focus on our crew. Like somebody got into a car accident the other day. One of our leaders, our store leaders, and they needed $1,000 to get their car. It was the deposit for the insurance or whatever, and we happily helped out with that. So I think like just letting the team constantly know that we have your back on and off the field, and that like we're here for you. Like if you need help, like come to us. We want to help you. Yeah. So
I think the only thing that's coming through my mind right now is like that's great conceptually, right? But to execute that, what are you doing to make sure that you have the cash flow available? Do you have like a percentage of? Oh well,
we do profit. We do profit first, Eric.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, everybody, in case people aren't familiar with profit first, what is profit first?
Profit first is essentially allocating your dollars to different buckets, if you will. So we have an income account where all our money comes into the income account, and then we have, right now I think between all the businesses we have. Maybe 50 bank accounts.
Okay.
And so those are buckets, right? And every bucket has a purpose. Sales tax, tips, we have rent buckets, we have all different things. So once the money comes into the income account, it gets allocated towards these buckets, of money.
Are those percentages for you?
How do we do it? We do it basically by actual dollars. Like I know like what our rent is every month, and so I know like halfway through the month I need 50% of that to be in there, and then towards the end of the month I need the whole thing in there. So I kind of know where the buckets need to be at.
It's
and
cash flow management.
Cash flow management, exactly. And so I'll be dedicating a bucket to our internal donation team.
Yeah. So it's just like it's the envelope system, but instead of using envelopes, you're using checking accounts.
That's exactly it.
And the idea is as money comes in, why they say profit first is because your business exists to give you profit.
To make profit.
Profit. Yeah.
It doesn't exist to pay bills. So that's for sure.
But before, like the traditional way of doing business was you pay all of your expenses and whatever is left over is your profit. What profit first, Mike McAllowitz, we should probably give him a tip, a little nod.
What's up, Mike?
Mike is the I don't know if he invented this or if he just put the words to it.
The Godfather. I think he is the inventor.
Well, I mean, people have been doing this for years. I think he just had the idea of using the checking accounts and then.
Oh, sure.
But anyway, Mike McAllowitz, Profit First. It's a great book. You take profit first. Like 10% of everything that you earn go off the top is your profit.
Yeah.
So you always make sure you're paying yourself, and then after that, it's like, and I always say like cash flow and people determine your growth, but how do you know what your cash flow is, right? Yeah. So like it's just a way to kind of have your eye on every penny that's coming into your business and allocating it, and also making sure you're paying yourself. But beyond that, you can do something where like you have profit, and maybe you choose profit, 5% of your profit can go back to your employees. And they typically say profit's supposed to be for getting out of debt and investing in assets. Mm-hmm. But if your people are not an asset, I don't know what it is.
They're your only asset.
Yeah, exactly. So what's going through your minds as I'm saying that? I mean, you already know this stuff.
Well, yeah, and it's just, you have to like make room for it. And I think you were saying like, how do you know? Because cash flow changes every day, right? Every day, every week, every month, every year, your cash flow is slightly different. It's either less or more, So I think you have to constantly watch the numbers to pivot. And I know you were just diving in a lot about prime cost. And so we look at prime cost every single day. We have EODs, which is end of day reports, end of week reports, end of month reports. So we're constantly looking at like, what is the percentage of labor we're paying? What's the percentage of food costs we're at, daily, weekly. But then that helps us pivot. So say right now I lose half my business today, right? Now we have to pivot very hard. We have to schedule less people. We have to order less food.
What scenario do you lose half your business in a day?
Yeah, I can't think of anything. But you know what I mean? So I think if you're staying on top of your numbers and you were very conscious about pivoting to make it work correctly, one of our mutual friends, I'm not going to say their name, but they started out with their restaurant making $1.2 million a year their first year. Fantastic, right?
Yeah.
But then after, the time went on, I think...
Is that gross or net?
That is gross.
Okay.
But then after the restaurant kind of settled in, the first year of them being like the new thing in town, it went to like $900,000 a year or maybe something like that. But that's a big difference, right? That's $300,000 difference. But that business owner was able to pivot and shift the labor, shift the food cost, and was able to make a profitable business under $900,000 a year opposed to 1.2. And so I think if you can make the business make sense no matter where your revenue is. You just have to be ready to do that. And then as long as you're doing that, there will be profit, and there's a way to throw money in that donation bucket that you want to.
Yeah, I love it, man. Awesome stuff. Earlier I started talking about people being insatiable. By the way, insatiable is a word. It means impossible to satisfy.
Oh, okay. You were right. I'm just not smart.
No, you're great. You have me questioning myself, though. So this idea that I think that it's important to kind of, what I love about this direction you're taking, making your purpose about growing people, is that I feel like you'll never have enough of that.
Oh, yeah.
When you make it about other people and you can, that your legacy, your impact on this world has helped so many people, that shit never gets old. Never gets old. You'll get dopamine up the wazoo, man. Like it's never going to get old. It's going to feel good. You're going to help people. And I think that's one of the few things in life that isn't insatiable about us. Like we can maybe that'd still be insatiable, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
We want that to be, that will make us feel happier. But the thing is with money, it's like crack. You get $5,000 a month. You're like, oh man, this is great. I'm making $60,000 a year. Like I'm secure, right?
Yeah.
And then that gets old because you live outside your means, and then you get to $70,000, then you get to $80,000, and you never get enough because you're constantly evolving your quality of life to get all these things, to get that cookie, to get that release of dopamine, and then it's just over.
Yep.
And you'll never have enough. But if you take that same mentality and you apply it to like getting more people into your life or making the people better, like that shit is gold.
Oh, and here's the other catch-22 that I realized is as we grow our company, we're adding new people, and then now we have to grow the pie even bigger because now we need to support those additional people. Yeah. And as the company gets bigger, the pie needs to get bigger because you have more people now that you have to take care of.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of this, if you want to open a company that's going to last for 100 years, I feel like centering it around growing your people is the only way, because that, as you keep growing, you have more and more people to care for and that you're responsible for. So it's, I love the idea we'll never get to the top of the mountain. You know what I mean? Like, I'll never get there.
Yeah.
I'll always be working towards it.
And we were just getting into this idea of just the idea of people, growing people, that being kind of like the keystone to business. And honestly, I think it's a keystone to humanity, just in general. Oh, I got it.
We got to turn the open sign on.
Turn the open sign
It's go time. There's two of them. I'm putting Eric to work here.
There you go. Awesome. Earning that chicken sandwich. So where am I going with this? This mentality of the future. So I'm reading this book right now. I think this is where the conversation is going to go for just Joe and I broing out and talking about so have you heard of the book Abundance?
Nope.
Abundance.
So tell us what is this book about?
So it's just the idea. It's about abundance. And
like having like abundance of, anything like,
so the concept of abundance is just, it's the abundance mentality, which is there's more than enough for all of us. So we by nature are very like protective. We store our nuts away so nobody knows where they are. We hoard, this is mine, because by nature we evolved to come up with some pretty rough shit. We had to be that way. It was built into us. But the truth is that the world is very abundant, and there's more than enough for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And if you embrace that mentality of abundance, then it's kind of like a paradigm shift, because then you start the idea is the more you give, the more you get.
Yeah.
Right. And this is kind of that mentality that I feel when I think of making your business about serving your people, about giving to your people, about growing your people, that's going to come back around. And that's the other thing about when you make it about growing the people, the money follows, right? Like that mentality of abundance, it just kind of happens, right? Because you're taking care. This is a people business. You take care of people, they're going to bring more people in. That means more money, right?
Yep.
So what's going through your minds as I share that?
Well, the whole money conversation, and we've talked about this, that, we look at money like almost like blood, right? Yeah. Your purpose in life is not about blood, right? Like your whole thing, you don't walk around and be like, oh my gosh, blood.
I'm running out of blood.
But if I cut your vein right now and drained you of all the blood, you would die, right? So it's pretty essential, but it's not something that you focus on, right? And so I feel like the whole money part is something, obviously we have to have it. You got to be profitable.
Yeah. It's a responsibility.
It's a responsibility.
Yeah, it should be a core value, I think.
but it's not the purpose of, when you're growing, So I feel like there's so much more to give people that is like a purpose.
Yeah.
Besides like the whole money system.
I mean, I guess where I'm going with this whole abundance thing, like thinking about the future, right? And I would love to encourage more people to have this mindset that you have. And the reason why I'm bringing up this book, Abundance, is because there's a lot of evidence that shows that the future is really bright.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's this idea that when you think of abundance, if you look at like the world we live in, information is traveling faster than ever before. Are you familiar with Moore's Law?
No.
So Moore's Law is basically based off this idea, and it was this guy, I forget his first name, Mr. Moore, was working on computer circuit breakers or something. I can't remember. I'm not a techie dude, but it's something about the technology was like doubling. Like the speed or like the amount of RAM or whatever was doubling like every 2 years, but it wasn't actually doubling. It was more exponential, but it was happening at such a small rate before that it wasn't really noticeable. But we're 30 years into this now, technology or so, 30 years or so into it now that it's compounding much faster. So things that we think are like 100 years away are really only like 10 or 15 years away.
Sure.
That are going to have huge, drastic impacts
like
on
robots,
society. Robots, AI,
yeah,
all these things. But the idea is like the world is very abundant and there's more than enough for everyone. So if we start making it about growing our people, like I think that's kind of like the keystone to like this mentality of abundance. It's all about paying it forward. It's all about making it about everybody because there's enough for everyone.
Yeah, there definitely is enough for everybody. I mean, and also like, we're on Chicago Avenue. We're hoping that restaurants open all up and down Chicago Avenue here. Like we're hoping this becomes the next Restaurant Row, because I think all ships rise with the tide. There's plenty enough for this whole block to be restaurant after restaurant after restaurant, and I want that. Maybe it'll take some of our business away, but I think in the long run, it's going to boost our business up because we're all going to kind of become this like food destination spot.
Yeah. What do you think needs to happen in our industry for what we're describing to happen?
I think people need to realize that you can't just take advantage of people and kind of have this like, I'm going to pay minimum wage kind of thing and not care about the people that are on the front lines, like actually hustling and working really hard to make your business successful. I think they need to have this shift in their mind that like, it's almost like the servant leadership. Like, how can I serve my people to make their lives better than just take advantage, because I think like greed, back in the day, was like almost promoted, like our parents' age group.
Yeah. Stingy.
It was like greed was a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of changing now. And I hope it does, where people start really like, hey, I need to care for my people, and we need to pay them more. We need to make sure that they're making a living wage, that we're not just, out here just to make profit and, go sit on some boat somewhere.
Yeah. But I mean, the cool thing that they get into this book is this idea that one of the issues in the past in the workforce has been people. We've looked at people as cogs in wheels. Like, your job is to do the thing, and that's all your job is. Just do this thing, That's it. And we're limiting ourselves. And also, humans are being made to do these things that kind of take up bandwidth because you're working. Your brain's telling your hands to do stuff. You got to be focused on things, and that's energy lost. So much of our human potential energy is going into doing jobs. The thing being cogs and wheels, and that energy is being lost, and that energy could be going to solving problems. The thing that's really unique about humans is that we can create. We can solve problems. We're creators. That's what we are. But when we're focused on doing the thing, our creative mind is shut down. So it's just this idea that I think technology is a big part of what you're trying to, the future too, is embracing technology, not being afraid of it.
Oh, sure.
But embracing it and seeing it as, hey, if I don't have to pay a person to do this, that frees up time to focus on more important things like finding more creative solutions or freeing up that human potential to solve problems. So as I'm saying this, are you thinking of examples in your business?
Well, I was thinking of how we talked to, you were saying the cog in the wheel or whatever,
Yeah.
and the person just doing the thing. I mean, our message is really you need to do this thing and master it so then you can level up and teach someone how to do it.
Yep.
And then kind of making it to where it's changing the story where it's you need to be so good at your job that you can share that with other people and then keep bringing yourself up.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, instead of but I hear what you're saying about abundance. There is enough for everybody, and you can make these win-win scenarios for people in the business, opposed to trying to be take more than you receive.
I think another paradigm shift too is when you're thinking about you mentioned earlier that you'd love to be able to hire people and be hey, someday you could own your own Fry the Coop, right? And some people think to themselves, I would never give them equity in my business. But sometimes I've noticed that people that have the mentality that it's not 50% that I'm giving up, it's 50% that I would never otherwise get because I can't be there.
Sure.
Because I can't manage that store. So think of it as 50% you're gaining.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it alone. And I think that's one of the things I picked up on. And I love that maybe not 50-50, maybe 49, 51% model of just being hey, I will give you half of the store, but guess what? You own it. And I'm not worried about it because you came up through my organization. You're a part of our culture. You are an extension of us.
And you know it. Yeah.
Exactly.
100%.
What's that make you think?
Well, I forget his name, Schultz, the guy from Starbucks,
Howard Schultz.
Howard Schultz.
Yep.
Thank you. So he had somebody asked him if you can go back, what was some advice you would give to yourself, your younger self, 30 years ago? And he said, success is best when it's shared.
Yes.
And
pie is better when it's shared.
Yeah, 100%. And that I think is so spot on, And I, when I lived in California, we had a really nice place. And I was off of work for a little while, and I would go down to the hot tub by myself. Here I am in California, palm trees, covering my head. It's noon on a Tuesday, and I'm sitting in this hot tub by myself. However, I was bored out of my mind, borderline depressed, but here I am, just enjoying this.
I deal with this all the time.
Tub. Yeah, but you're alone, and it's I would love to share this moment with someone else.
Yeah,
and that's a stupid example, but when you if you made it right, you get this huge mansion on top of the mountain, but you have no family or friends. There's no, that's a terrible scenario. You want to share that success with the people that you love.
Yeah.
And I feel again, going back to happiness, if you want to be happy, share your success.
Yeah, man, I love that. That's beautiful. And I kind of want to geek out a little bit about the future.
Yeah.
So Joe and I are more than just, host and co-host or whatever. I don't even know. We've been talking. We talk regularly. We pick up the phone. We call each other. We talk regularly.
Yep.
And I share a lot of my visions with Joe as far as what I want to do with Restaurant Unstoppable. And I feel we're so aligned right now. As far as the purpose of Restaurant Unstoppable is to inspire, empower, and transform the industry. But when I say transform, I say kind of what you're trying to do with your employees. You're trying to transform your employees. You're trying to give them opportunity by giving them skills, knowledge, a path for growth. And I feel that's kind of what Restaurant Unstoppable is trying to do, but my employees are restaurant owners. Saying look at this is your job as a restaurateur is to give your people that picture, that vision. My
Yep.
job as a podcast host is to say, hey, like, this is our industry. This is where our industry could be. You know, if we shared knowledge,
Yeah.
if we came together, if we were colleagues instead of competitors, you know, and if we supported each other. And like, what would that look like? How much more secure would our industry look like if we were supportive and we had this abundance mentality, right?
Well, can I tell you that you did that for me? Because I found Restaurant Unstoppable when you were on maybe episode 40 or something.
no.
It was very early on.
I'm surprised those are some rough interviews.
There was
man.
there was no restaurant podcast at
Yeah.
the time, like zero.
You got to settle.
You were the only one, and I was just searching for knowledge
Yeah.
on something that I had no idea really about, and my idea was just literally wasn't even barely on paper yet, and you did that. Through your mentors that you've interviewed have become my mentors that I've listened to episodes over and over and over again, help give me the knowledge to where now I have this mindset from the work that you've done and you've shared. And that went from me writing a business plan during that all the way to now having we have 175 employees currently, which is crazy, right? And we're doing $1 million a month in sales.
That's
now.
amazing, dude.
So we have a $12 million business currently.
That's crazy.
From going
4
to
years.
But the work that you've done, the mentors that you've brought to the table and cracked their brains open and shared have helped us get to where we're at today.
I'm gonna pivot this conversation and put it on me. What would you do if you were me and you were in my position? You had this podcast.
Eric, you got to write a book.
I know you've been telling me
Come
forever I need
on.
to write a book. I just have no desire to write a book. It's weird. I'm stuck in this place right now where I want to exist in this world as Eric Cacciatore, and that's it. Meaning the shit that I want to do and how I want to do it, and how I'm trying to figure out how I can coexist with this podcast and exist in this world, be profitable in the way I want to exist, which means
Sure.
I think there is an opportunity to write a book. I have no idea what it would be. I think I just need to sit down and start writing and see what happens.
You wrote a page
right.
a day for the next 2 years.
I know, you're right. I
You'd
should
have a
just
book.
start doing it. But if you're in this position and you could have access to people like I have access to people, what would you do? If you're me and you're opening a restaurant tomorrow, what would you do?
Well, I mean, you have so much knowledge. I think, the book, but I think you should also open up your own restaurant because now you know it all.
Would I get rid of the podcast?
No, I think still do the podcast.
I want to do the podcast and open a restaurant.
It is very possible. You could do both at the same time.
I agree, but the question is, how do I do that and not hate my life after?
Yeah,
that's the question I'm dealing with. Like, what do I have to prove? Is what I'm asking myself. And at the same time, I feel like I think there's a lot of opportunity for me to have an abundance mentality and to go to people like you and be like, how are you doing this? Or even like find people that, I'm not pitching you, Joe, but like you are absolutely on this list of people I would do business with, and like partner with people and just document what they're doing, and being a part of the business, but also like providing access to my network of people. Like I could pull in experts, coaches, other restaurateurs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be a huge asset to a restaurateur.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody needs a coach. I don't have one currently, but our director of operations, he has a coach now, which has been a game changer for him. Yeah. I think it's been almost a year now. But I think, setting people up with coaches, having that kind of like as a little part of it. Your mastermind group was a game changer for me. You know, shout out to Colton, who's my boy for life, who I met through
Sanchez. Who else was
Tanya.
In that? It was you, Colton, Tanya. Was there 3 people? Oh, Sandy.
Sandy, yep. Up in Door County, Wisconsin.
Yes.
She's still crushing it up there.
Is she? I need to go visit her. She's the only one that I haven't. I'm chipping away. It was first Colton, or no, first it was Colton, then Tanya, then you.
Yep.
No, Sandy, you're on the list. Sorry, distractions.
No, that's all right.
So
the future is bright, though.
Yeah, and, I guess what I'm going with this is like I feel like proposition me. Not you, but anybody listening to this, proposition me, because I'm at the point now where I do want to open a restaurant. I know I can't do it by myself. But I also need to put it into the universe. This is something that I want to do, and I don't think I'm going to be traditional about it.
Yeah.
I think that I'm going to – that's one thing I've noticed is that we are so broken. This industry does stupid shit because that's just the way we're taught to do it. You know, like there's so many different ways you can make money, whether it be a membership or, you know, there's just events or whatever it might be, you know, but we just think of like, oh no, we just charge, you know, per transaction or like whatever.
Sure.
I don't know.
Nothing ever happens without partners, by the way. So there's a very rare scenario where it's like one person just like goes and opens up a business.
Yeah.
You know, usually there's a partner involved. Some VC companies or equity companies won't even invest in a single owner company because they want to see the partnerships. So I think, you know, and then some restaurateurs, you know, put together hundreds of investors to get, you know, in on their concept. I think Tim McHenry from Cooper's Hawk, he had 49 investors.
That's crazy.
You know, 49 people that he got.
I think Thomas Kelly has a crazy story like that too, where he just pitched it over and over and over again. He got like pennies and dollars from like hundreds of people. Or something
I'll give you $5,000. I'll give you 10 grand.
Exactly.
You know, and you just put it together.
But I think that's part of what's broken. Is like that's what people think. Like, I need to have a brick and mortar to have a restaurant, or to have a food and beverage business. You don't.
Sure, no, you don't.
Like, you can start super small, have complete control over it, and like this is going back 20 or 30 years. Some of these people that we're making examples of, but like today, like with technology, like you can have a storefront be your website, and you can cook from a commissary. You know, like the barrier to entry is so low, and you can even start with just doing meal prep for like 5 clients that pay you, you know, $100 a week.
Oh, totally.
You know,
and I have a great story about this. So when I was in California, I was trying to raise money for a concept called Meatball Republic.
Yeah, I know.
As you know. So I was trying to raise $500,000. But here's this kid who like never owned a restaurant, you know, never owned any business, trying to pitch people, trying to come up with this big, you know, grand restaurant or whatever, the full bar, you know, big to do, right? Meanwhile, a friend of mine opens up a little pizza place for like next to nothing. And I had found out about it after he opened because he opened so quickly.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm talking like 3 weeks or like 4 weeks. He like from the time he was like, oh yeah, I'll sign this lease. And like 4 weeks later, he was open.
Yeah.
And I go, where'd you get the money for this? He goes, oh, well, he just, you know, he signed the lease for me for nothing. And then I found a used pizza oven for like $2,000. I went and picked it up. We threw it in my truck and got it in there. And then like, here's me trying to like do this whole big grand thing. And meanwhile, my friend just like, you know, within weeks for, you know, under $10,000.
But you started small too. You were doing
well, Fry the Coop did. Oh yeah, I was doing it, you know, where I was doing the pop-up stand. Yeah. But still, I mean, my point is though, like to piggyback on it, is like I should have scrapped the whole I need $500,000 thing and just, hey, I just need to find a little space.
What do I have?
And I can just, what do I have?
Yeah, what I have?
Yeah, can I scrape together $5,000 and
I
go
think
buy a
what we
fryer?
all have is a story, and I think people forget that. So, like, you have a story, start telling it. Start telling people, start sharing your vision. Yeah. So, we mentioned vision a couple times today. Vision, we talked about tangible framing within your business for growth. We talked about profit first. I did a workshop with RU805 from Zingerman's on vision. If you guys have not caught that yet, make sure you
Can you find that on the podcast?
I'm pretty sure. So
website?
I haven't decided if I want to take the workshops off of the main thread yet. It's a little weird with sponsors, you know?
Sure.
But
I mean,
the video, everything's like it's much nicer. It's much nicer in the network. And the other variable about being in the network is when we record those things, you get to join us live. So we did a whole workshop on visioning with RU805, who I think explains it the best.
Oh, he is the best.
Yeah, so
literally.
Check out that episode if you're listening to this. Check out the episode I did with Nick Cirillo on tangible framing within your business, so your people can see that there's growth.
When was that?
That was maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Oh, okay, it was recent. Great.
Yeah. Rudy Mick is the guy to talk to. He's the one that taught
Rudy
Mick Cirillo how to do that. Rudy Mick's in the network. He's very active in the network. I'm pitching the fuck out of myself right now. And Profit First is a course I did with Casey Anton, who's a Profit First professional. Yep. So if you guys are interested, I think it's $250. It's a step by. You will make your money back. Well, it will change your life. I have like $50,000 put away in allocated accounts right now, but I have zero stress.
That's amazing.
You know, because it's just I'm not bragging, but like it's just like these like that's taxes. You know,
like sure, yeah.
People like you know like that's not my money. That's just tax. Maybe it's like maybe it was 50,000 right now. You know what I'm saying? But this is the idea that like we just lose track of money, and then it's tax time. You're like, oh shit, you know, it's just like and like profit, and like I'm paying off debt that I've never been able to do before. It's so powerful when you have control, when you know where your money is, and you pay yourself first, which is the other variable. So visioning, tangible growth, profit first, all that stuff is in the network. If you want to learn how to do it, head over to restaurantunstoppablenetwork.com. Be a part of the conversation. And
even having, you know, I'm a part of the network, and even having a sound board to go to of other restaurant owners, business folks that, you know, you can ask questions to and throw it out there, and you get tons of responses from a bunch of people who chime in. Oh, this is what I do. This is what I did.
And it's a little different from like social media in the sense like it is essentially social media, but the people that are in the network are past guests and people who are paying to be there.
Sure.
Which means the quality of the conversation is much better. You see a lot of these jabronis on the Facebook groups. It's just like posting stupid shit.
Oh yeah.
Political stuff. Like, we're here to learn and grow and to help each other out.
Yeah. When you got skin in the game, you know, it's a little more serious.
So I didn't mean this to become a giant ad for the network, but I just wanted to point out, we talked about a lot of stuff today that we address within the network. So do come hang out in the network. That's my focus right now. Joe, we got to wrap it up. I have to be back at my Airbnb in 30 minutes, and I got a 15-minute drive.
Yeah, no problem.
And I still got to break down. But we wrap up every chat by calling somebody out. You called out last time the Boca. I'm so afraid to say his name, dude. Kevin Boehm.
Bohem?
I got to figure that out before
I have
tomorrow.
no idea.
He was a past guest on the show. I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right.
He's a great guy. I don't know him personally. I listened to...
called him out, and we're connecting tomorrow, man.
That's fantastic.
So we're going to make that happen for you. It's up to like 30 locations now, I think.
Yeah, and him and his partner won Restaurant Tour of the Year a couple years ago. Yeah, maybe it was the James Beard Restaurant Tour, but just fantastic guys. When that first episode, you interviewed him in like 2012. 2013.
I have to listen to that tonight.
It was a long time ago.
It's going to be painful for me.
I listened to that episode like 5 times because I was blown away by like his mindset. I was like, wow, this guy gets it.
Yeah, so we're going to be following up tomorrow.
That's great.
So that was the first dude you called out. Who else do you think I should connect with? Maybe not this trip, but you're pretty plugged into the industry. Who do you respect and admire and wish I'd get on the show?
Well, I'm going to give you our director of operations. His name is Francisco Morales.
Okay.
He has been in it, I think, for maybe 12 years now. He's a young guy, and he has his coach, his mentor coach, that he meets with every month. But he is like a Jedi master when it comes to operations.
Okay.
And then, you know, people too. I mean, he's helping grow our people. And so he is working on leadership really intently with our crew, with our store leaders. I mean, he sits down with them. They go over leadership stuff once a month. I mean, he's just next level when it comes to growing people, focusing on leadership and operations. I think he will give a lot of value.
Awesome. Drop that name on us one more time.
Francisco Morales.
Francisco, look out. I'm coming after you. Probably the next trip back out to Chicago, we're going to connect if you're willing. And Joe, how can we connect if we want to talk to you? We have follow-up questions. Maybe we want to come work for you.
Oh, yeah. Fry the Coop at Fry the Coop everywhere. You know, Instagram, Twitter. Joe.
RestaurantUnstoppableNetwork.com.
Yep. Joe at frythecoop.com. You can email me. Always happy to talk shop. You know, any questions anyone has, always willing to help.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. There is no questioning, my man. You are unstoppable.
Woo-woo.
Yeah, cheers.